A cruise ship or cruise liner is a passenger ship used for pleasure voyages, where the voyage itself and the ship's amenities are a part of the experience, as well as the different destinations along the way. Transportation is not the prime purpose, as cruise ships operate mostly on routes that return passengers to their originating port, so the ports of call are usually in a specified region of a continent. There are even cruises to nowhere, or nowhere voyages, where the ship makes 2 to 3 night round trips without any ports of call. By contrast, dedicated transport-oriented ocean liners do line voyages, and typically transport passengers from one point to another, rather than on round trips. Traditionally, an ocean liner for the transoceanic trade will be built to a higher standard than a typical cruise ship, including high freeboard and stronger plating to withstand rough seas and adverse conditions encountered in the open ocean, such as the North Atlantic. Ocean liners also usually have larger capacities for fuel, victuals, and other stores for consumption on long voyages, compared to dedicated cruise ships. Although often luxurious, ocean liners had characteristics that made them unsuitable for cruising, such as high fuel consumption, deep draft that prevented their entering shallow ports, enclosed weather-proof decks that were not appropriate for tropical weather, and cabins designed to maximize passenger numbers rather than comfort. The gradual evolution of passenger ship design from ocean liners to cruise ships has seen passenger cabins shifted from inside the hull to the superstructure with private verandas. The modern cruise ships, while sacrificing qualities of seaworthiness, have added amenities to cater to water tourists, and recent vessels have been described as balcony-laden floating condominiums. The distinction between ocean liners and cruise ships has blurred, particularly with respect to deployment. Differences in construction remain. Larger cruise ships have also engaged in longer trips such as transoceanic voyages which may not return to the same port for months. Some former ocean liners operate as cruise ships, such as Marco Polo. This number is diminishing. The only dedicated transatlantic ocean liner in operation as a liner is Queen Mary II of the Cunard fleet. She also has the amenities of contemporary cruise ships and sees significant service on cruises. The industry's rapid growth has seen 9 or more newly built ships catering to a North American clientele added every year since 2001, as well as others servicing European clientele. Smaller markets, such as the Asia-Pacific region, are generally serviced by older ships. These are displaced by new ships in the high-growth areas. The world's largest cruise ship is currently Royal Caribbean International's Allure of the Seas, beating her sister ship by about 2 inches. History. Origins. The birth of leisure cruising began with the formation of the Peninsular and Oriental Steam Navigation Company in 1822. The company started out as a shipping line with routes between England and the Iberian Peninsula, adopting the name Peninsular Steam Navigation Company. It won its first contract to deliver mail in 1837. In 1840, it began mail delivery to Alexandria, Egypt, via Gibraltar and Malta. The company was incorporated by royal charter the same year, becoming the Peninsular and Oriental Steam Navigation Company. P&O first introduced passenger cruising services in 1844, advertising sea tours to destinations such as Gibraltar, Malta and Athens. Sailing from Southampton. The forerunner of modern cruise holidays, these voyages were the first of their kind, and P&O Cruises has been recognized as the world's oldest cruise line. The company later introduced round trips to destinations such as Alexandria and Constantinople. It underwent a period of rapid expansion in the latter half of the 19th century, commissioning larger and more luxurious ships to serve the steadily expanding market. Notable ships of the era include the SS Ravenna, built in 1880, which became the first ship to be built with a total steel superstructure, and the SS Valletta, built in 1889, which was the first ship to use electric lights. Some sources mention Francesco I, flying the flag of the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies, as the first cruise ship. She was built in 1831 and sailed from Naples in early June 1833, preceded by an advertising campaign. The cruise ship was boarded by nobles, authorities, and royal princes from all over Europe. In just over 3 months, the ship sailed to Taormina, Catania, Syracuse, Malta, Corfu, Patras, Delphi, Zante, Athens, Smyrna, Constantinople, and delighting passengers with excursions and guided tours, dancing, card tables on the deck and parties on board. However, it was restricted to the aristocracy of Europe and was not a commercial endeavor. The cruise of the German ship Augusta Victoria in the Mediterranean and the Near East from the 22nd of January to the 22nd of March 1891, with 241 passengers including Albert Ballon and wife, popularized the cruise to a wider market. Christian Wilhelm Allers published an illustrated account of it as Backskish. The first vessel built exclusively for luxury cruising was Prinzessin Victoria Louise of Germany, designed by Albert Ballon, general manager of Hamburg America Line. The ship was completed in 1900. The practice of luxury cruising made steady inroads on the more established market for transatlantic crossings. In the competition for passengers, ocean liners added luxuries, Titanic being the most famous example, such as fine dining, luxury services, and staterooms with finer appointments. In the late 19th century, Albert Ballon, director of the Hamburg America Line, was the first to send his transatlantic ships out on long southern cruises during the worst of the winter season of the North Atlantic. Other companies followed suit. Some of them built specialized ships designed for easy transformation between summer crossings and winter cruising. In 1896, there were 3 luxury liners for transportation, for the Europe to North America trip. These were European-owned. In 1906, the number had increased to 7. The British Inman Line owned City of Paris, the Cunard Line had Campania and Lucania, the White Star Line owned Majestic and Teutonic. La Lorraine and La Savoie were owned by the French Compagnie Générale Transatlantique. Modern luxury cruising with the advent of large passenger jet aircraft in the 1960s. Intercontinental travelers switched from ships to planes, sending the ocean liner trade into a terminal decline. Certain characteristics of older ocean liners made them unsuitable for cruising duties, such as high fuel consumption, deep draft preventing them from entering shallow ports, and cabins designed to maximize passenger numbers rather than comfort. Ocean liner services aimed at passengers ceased in 1986. With the notable exception of transatlantic crossings operated by the British shipping company Cunard Line, catering to a niche market of those who appreciated the several days at sea. In an attempt to shift the focus of the market from passenger travel to cruising with entertainment value, Cunard Line pioneered the luxury cruise transatlantic service on board the Queen Elizabeth II ocean liner. International celebrities were hired to perform cabaret acts on board, and the crossing was advertised as a vacation in itself. Queen Elizabeth II also inaugurated one-class cruising, where all passengers received the same quality berthing and facilities. This revitalized the market as the appeal of luxury cruising began to catch on both sides of the Atlantic. The 1970s television series Love Boat helped to popularize the concept as a romantic opportunity for couples. Another ship to make this transition was SS Norway. Originally the ocean liner SS France, and later converted to cruising duties as the Caribbean's first super ship. Contemporary cruise ships built in the late 1980s and beyond, such as Sovereign class, which broke the size record held for decades by Norway, show characteristics of size and strength once reserved for ocean liners. Some have undertaken regular scheduled transatlantic crossings. The Sovereign class ships were the first megaships to be built. They also were the first series of cruise ships to include a multi-story atrium with glass elevators. They also had a single deck devoted entirely to cabins with private balconies instead of ocean view cabins. Other cruise lines soon launched ships with similar attributes, such as the Fantasy Class and Crown Princess, as the veranda suites were particularly lucrative for cruise lines, something which was lacking in older ocean liners. Recent cruise ships have been designed to maximize such amenities and have been described as balcony-laden, floating condominiums. Until 1975 to 1980, cruises offered shuffleboard, deck chairs, drinks with umbrellas and little else for a few hundred passengers. After 1980, they offered increasing amenities. As of 2010, city-sized ships have dozens of amenities. There have been 9 or more new cruise ships added every year since 2001, all at 100,000 GT or greater. The only comparable ocean liner to be completed in recent years has been Cunard Line's Queen Mary II in 2004. Following the retirement of her running mate Queen Elizabeth II in November 2008, Queen Mary II is the only liner operating on transatlantic routes, though she also sees significant service on cruise routes. Queen Mary II was for a time the largest passenger ship before being surpassed by Royal Caribbean International's Freedom-class vessels in 2006. The Freedom-class ships were in turn overtaken by RCI's Oasis-class vessels, which entered service in 2009 and 2010. Operators and cruise lines. Operators of cruise ships are known as cruise lines. Cruise lines have a dual character. They are partly in the transportation business, and partly in the leisure entertainment business. A duality that carries down into the ships themselves, which have both a crew headed by the ship's captain, and a hospitality staff headed by the equivalent of a hotel manager. Among cruise lines, some are direct descendants of the traditional passenger shipping lines, while others were founded from the 1960s specifically for cruising. Historically, the cruise ship business has been volatile. The ships are large capital investments with high operating costs. A persistent decrease in bookings can put a company in financial jeopardy. Cruise lines have sold, renovated, or renamed their ships to keep up with travel trends. The cruise lines operate their ships virtually 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. A ship which is out of service for routine maintenance means the loss of tens of millions of dollars. If the maintenance is unscheduled, it can result, potentially, in thousands of dissatisfied customers. A wave of failures and consolidation in the 1990s has led to many lines existing only as brands within larger corporations. Much as a single automobile company produces several makes of cars, brands exist partly because of repeat customer loyalty, and also to offer different levels of quality and service. For instance, Carnival Corporation owns both Carnival Cruise Lines, whose former image were vessels that had a reputation as party ships for younger travelers, but have become large, modern, yet still profitable, and Holland America Line, whose ships cultivate an image of classic elegance. In 2004, Carnival Corporation had merged Cunard's headquarters with that of Princess Cruises in Santa Clarita, California, so that administrative, financial and technology services could be combined, ending Cunard's history where it had operated as a standalone company regardless of parent ownership. However, Cunard did regain some independence in 2009 when its headquarters were moved to Carnival House in Southampton. Some cruise lines have specialties. For example, Saga Cruises only allows passengers over 50 years old aboard their ships, and Star Clippers and formerly Windjammer Barefoot Cruises and Windstar Cruises only operate tall ships. Regent Seven Seas Cruises operates medium-sized vessels, smaller than the megaships of Carnival and Royal Caribbean, designed such that 90% of their suites are balconies. Several specialty lines offer expedition cruising, or only operate small ships, visiting certain destinations such as the Arctic and Antarctica, or the Galapagos Islands. Currently the 5 largest cruise line operators in the world are Carnival Corporation and plc, Royal Caribbean Cruises Limited, Star Cruises, MSC Cruises, and Lewis Cruise Lines. Lewis Cruises has largely grown its fleet through purchasing older second- or third-hand ships, while the other 4 operators have largely constructed their own vessels and combined owned a majority of the megaships.